In this lesson, in this lesson, our lesson comes from a read aloud story of Paul Bunyan. So for the past couple of weeks, the students had been doing fairy tale characteristics, fairy tales. So they were learning about all of the elements of a fairy tale, what makes a fairy tale. So this week we started working on the Paul Bunyan story. Um, so the Paul Bunyan story is a tall tale story, and the students are learning that a tall tale story is a story that's mixed with, that is a story that's been told over and over and over. It's not necessarily real, but it's not fake. It's based on, at least some in some parts, a piece of history. It's a story that's been passed down through generations. The students' learning target for this lesson was that they would be able to identify the plots, the character, the plots, and the settings of the story. They will be able to identify what is an element of the tall tale. For our lesson, the students had to listen to a read aloud story, a read aloud Paul Bunyan story, and when the students were finished, they would be doing, and after the lesson, the students are asked questions and answers. Who are the characters in the story? Who are the main characters? The main characters are Paul Bunyan and his blue ox, and his ox Blue. So we have question and answers that the students would have to answer. The main point of this is for this, because the students were all having trouble understanding what a tall tale is. So they had gotten so used to the fairy tales and the characteristics of the fairy tales that they had just started to encounter this. So after the reading, what we did was we allowed the students to watch a video. It was similar. The video that they watched were similar in part to the reading. It was about Paul Bunyan and how his story, about his story. The students got to learn about how when he was a baby, he was a big baby. And one of the things that we used for this lesson was flexible grouping. The students were able to use their groups in order to ask and answer question of each other and the teachers. So this, one of the questions that the students had to answer was, why is Paul Bunyan considered a tall tale? And they had to understand that the reason why it was considered a tall tale was because it was a story that was not written down but was told. But it was a story that was just told and then told and told and told. And then at some point, someone wrote this story down and the details of the story began to change. So they knew that they had to, by the ending of the lesson, they learned that a tall tale was just a story that was not real, that it was, at some point, it was a fact, but not a complete fact. And it was just an exaggeration of a larger story.